What's up everybody and welcome to the Fight Franchise and our recap and review of the main event of UFC 309 where Jon Jones successfully defended his undisputed heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic in a fight many of us saw as being a predictable outcome, and it was a good finish at the end of the fight, spinning back kick, but one of the fights that we just didn't need to see this year and ended quite a lackluster MSG card compared to the previous years. Going to kind of give my preview of the fight and what I thought of the fight and what I want to see for Jon Jones in the heavyweight division going forward. So Jones and Stipe, all done. Jones is the champion. Jones is the pound for pound, one of the pound for pound best people in the world. I don't think he's the pound for pound best after beating that kind of old man Stipe. But the fight kind of played out similar to how I would predict it to play out. Jones was much faster, the much more technical, the better on the feet, the better overall. Stipe Miocic was so slow. When you think of Stipe Miocic in his prime, when he was on that run where he beat Verdum, Overeem, JDS and Francis, that Stipe was much more crisp in the boxing, much faster on his feet, ripping to the body, doing 1-2s, he had a great arsenal and a great offense, and it was when he was in his prime. This Stipe Miocic is well past his prime, and it showed out there. He's 42, 5 years older than Jones, and then he's been out of the octagon for however many years. The ring rust was showing, especially when you think as well, he's not a full-time fighter. He's a fireman as well, so he has a job outside of fighting, whereas Jon Jones' sole focus the past 4 years has been putting on the weight, acclimatizing for heavyweight, and training for fights. So obviously Jon Jones was going to be the heavy favourite and win going into this fight. But first round plays out and it's quite not competitive, but Stipe, you can see, is very slow in the fight, and Jones is kind of piecing him up how he can. And then eventually Jones lands a trip on Stipe Miocic, and once he landed this trip, I thought the fight was over, because he just gets on top of Stipe and starts raining down ground and pound and elbows. And I thought for a second he's going to, 12 to 6 elbow him to death, because that was my prediction. I thought Jones was take him down, 12 to 6 elbow him, and right that wrong. But that never happened. Stipe survived the round, but it was a dominant round. Some people said it could have been a 10-8, and I wouldn't argue it. Second round, much closer. Jones just opts to stay on the feet and just fight at range, while Stipe's landing in a couple of bits of offense here and there, landed an uppercut in the clinch. I thought in that moment he would do what DC did to Stipe, did to himself, where he got him in the clinch and off the break knocked him out, but Stipe just doesn't have that same pop in his shot. He doesn't have that power anymore, Being an older guy, I feel he's lost a bit of steam. And then it's a close round, and every time there's a bit of offense where Stipe could land something, Jones does this brilliant thing where he just kind of stretches his arm out because he's got the longer reach, postures and pushes the guy back and runs away, and just stayed safe defensively. And most of the second round he spent teeping the body and weakening the body of Stipe Miocic, which eventually was his demise. And it was a great plan and adjustment. He did say in his post-fight speech, he said, Stipe's got a good chin, and every time you go headhunting for him, the likelihood is you're going to be unsuccessful knocking him out. So he goes, I'm going to go to the body instead, because he's weak to the body. And then eventually he finished him with a body shot. But third round, not very competitive. It was kind of similar to the second round, where it was like Stipe trying to land offense. Jones landed a stinging, I think it was a jab at one point, which sent Stipe rocking back. Stipe was like, oh, my eyes, it feel like he couldn't see. And then eventually, he's piecing him up on the feet. Stipe's landing no offense, and round three's coming to a close. And he's got Stipe backed up against the fence, and he's about to start teeing off on him. And then he lands a spinning back kick to the stomach of Stipe Miocic in the ribs. Stipe goes crashing to the canvas, and then 1, 2, 3 follow-up shots, and Bob's your uncle. Jon Jones defends his world title in a bout we all knew was going to defend his world title, but it was it was a good finish to the bout and a decent performance, but nothing to rave about. When you look back at the history of Jon Jones' legacy and you go, the names he's beat, yes, Stipe Miocic will be a name on his resume, which is undoubtedly a brilliant resume and the best in MMA history. You got to just kind of put that asterisk next to it and say, look, this was Stipe well past his prime. It's just kind of when you look at the overall resume and you list the names of Jon Jones' resume, Miocic is on there now. If you look at the Cyril Garnwin, that was much, much more impressive. But credit to Jon Jones. Brilliant victory, brilliant fight, brilliant performance. He hasn't retired, which is quite interesting. I thought he would just ride off into the sunset on this win, get the defense at heavyweight. But seems like He's asked for Alex Pereira, and he's saying, I'm not retiring. I want a boatload of cash before I retire. I think he's seen, what Mike Tyson and Jake Paul did, when Mike Tyson's making 100 million and he ain't even active, in his prime fighter. He's 60-year-old fighter, and seeing Mike Tyson made 20 million. I think Jon Jones is going to be like, okay, give me 10 million to fight Alex Pereira, or 20 million probably to fight Tom Aspinall. Wouldn't surprise me. But credit to him. I think going forward for Jones, I think a huge thing is, and I don't blame or begrudge Jon Jones. It's not his fault. I think Dana White is a huge culprit for this shit show, which is the heavyweight division, because Dana White has enabled Jon Jones to walk him like a dog. Dana White's the promoter. He's supposed to tell Jon Jones what to do, how high to jump and when to bark. Jon Jones is doing that to Dana White now. He's kind of got all the power and all the leverage, which is why he's asking for Alex Pereira so much, because he knows Tom Aspinall's a nasty matchup. But when Dana White's been hyping up Jon Jones, saying, the Stipe fight is the fight he needs, the Stipe fight is the fight we want to see, the Stipe fight is the best fight we can make, we all knew it wasn't, and this fight on Saturday showed UFC 309. It wasn't the fight to make, it was the Tom Aspinall matchup. And he did say in his post-fight, after the fight interview with Joe Rogan, did say he was open in fighting to Aspinall, but then in his post-fight, press conference, he was like, no, I don't really want to do business with Tom Aspinall. So he's chopping and changing. I feel like Dana will force his hand and make him fight Tom Aspinall. I think the only way, justifiably, Jon Jones could fight Alex Pereira is if he goes, okay, I'm relinquishing the belt and I'm going down to 205 after he beats after Alex Pereira beats Magomed Ankalaev. If Magomed Ankalaev beats Alex Pereira, then it's on Alex Pereira to come up and earn the title shot. I think he can get the title shot if he takes it on like short notice against Jon Jones, for example. But I think everybody knows what the fight to make is. It's Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. And the crazy thing is, I said it, I don't think Jon Jones is like completely out of this fight. I don't get why he understands this is stylistically, alongside Francis Ngannou, his hardest matchup alive right now for Jon Jones. But if Jon Jones can get past Tom Aspinall, then it's done. It's gonna be so difficult for the next guy to defy his legacy and become the GOAT. Jon Jones' legacy may be cemented for the next 100 years if he beats Tom Aspinall, because you've got to think of that lineage of wins. You've got to win nearly 16, 17 title fights and beat the best of the best. Like, I don't see anyone, maybe Ilia Topuria, but Ilia Topuria's got to do it for the next 7 or 8 years. Do we think in this current era of super fights going up, looking for money fights, going into different sports, is Ilia Topuria going to do that, for example? I don't know. I hope he does, because it'll be amazing for the sport. But, Jon Jones can cement his legacy truly, but there is that risk factor of, it crumbling down on him. And I think Jon Jones has he's got a massive ego. Let's just call it what it is. I remember when Khabib beat Justin Gaethje and everyone's like, yeah, give him pound for pound number one, give him pound for pound number one. And Jon Jones even made a video and he said, oh yeah, Khabib, well done, rightfully so. You are the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. And then it was like a few weeks later, someone put, oh, Khabib's the GOAT. And Jon Jones was like, 4 title defenses to my 13. It's not even close. And he's like, everyone gave him pound for pound because at that time he was the best pound for pound fighter in the world, Khabib. But also, obviously, he had the tragic passing of his dad. And I think it was just a cool thing to see and go, hey, look, here you go. Before you send off, you can retire pound for pound, number one, undisputed lightweight champion. And then 3 weeks later, Jones is chirping up like, oh no, he's not the best. I'm the best. It's like, take a break. His ego's huge. And I think that Tom Aspinall, if Tom Aspinall beats him, Jon Jones' ego will be shattered. But that fight, I think Jones would be an underdog going against Tom Aspinall. I just think the speed of Tom Aspinall is a huge, huge danger for someone like Jon Jones. And also the size, the strength, and the power they're coming the other way. It's a nightmarish matchup for Jon Jones, but it's not unwinnable for Jon Jones. If he plays his cards right, he can find the openings, he can win. It's just a very difficult win for him. But it's most certainly the fight we need to see next. If not, and he does, decide to, hang up the gloves or fight Alex Pereira, he has to go down to 205 against Alex Pereira, because if Alex Pereira comes up, Jon Jones has just got too much advantage with the wrestling and the size. If Jon Jones goes down to 205 and says, yeah, let me get my belt back, then fair enough, go fight Alex Pereira. But none of this Jamal Hill crap, none of this Derek Lewis crap. No offense to those guys, but they're just not worthy. Other than that, if the UFC can do a deal with Francis Ngannou, which I don't think is ever going to happen, bring him back to fight Tom Aspinall if Jones retires, because we need to know who is. It's going to be such a shame if none of these three fight each other, Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, because it's akin to Joshua, Usyk and Fury. Some of those fights are taking place now. Usyk fought Fury and Usyk fought Joshua, but Fury and Joshua haven't fought each other. But it was we wait for so long to make these matchups, and then they're out their prime, or one of them's out their prime, or one of them's past it. It's like Wilder and Joshua. We waited so long for that fight, and now Wilder's past it, and he's been knocked out a few times, and now Joshua's been KO'd by Dubois, and the hype gets lost. I think strike when the iron's hot, Dana White. And this is the other thing about Dana White. I said it in a preview video I did where I put a heavyweight's a mess in the thumbnail. It is a shit show mess at the minute. They need to scout way more talent coming in. They need to pay these heavyweights more money so they can convince these heavyweight athletes not to go to basketball, not to go to NFL, not to go to WWE, to come into the UFC, because heavyweight is shit at the minute. And I said it in my preview video. Francis Ngannou and Tom Aspinall have beaten the entire top 10, excluding Jon Jones, and I've forgotten his name, the Brazilian guy, Jailton Almeida. The rest of the top 10, Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou have beaten. Tom Aspinall and Francis Ngannou have beaten the rest of the top 10. So there's not really much for Tom Aspinall to fight. Everyone's either been beaten or is on a losing streak. The only guy who's doing really good at the heavyweight at the minute, aside from Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones, is Alexander Volkov. If he gets past Cyril Gane, he's going to be in the mix after, hopefully, Aspinall and Jones fight. Before I end this video, Stipe Miocic retired. What a career. Legendary fighter, deserves his flowers, deserves his respect. I think he's going to be... I don't even think he'll accept, the Hall of Fame thing, just because how much he hates Dana White. Him and Dana White have been on outs for so many years. But what a legendary guy, legendary career, one of the best streaks, and the best heavyweight of all time. Credit to him. It was a credit to watching the Octagon, I always remember that Francis Ngannou 1 fight. That first round was one of the most legendary and fun rounds I've ever seen, because you're just there on edge thinking, Stipe is going to get knocked out, but then he survives and comebacks. And, even the DC fight, I wanted DC to win the second one, but when he's ripping to the body with the liver shots and, gets the KO, fair play to him. He's had an amazing career, Stipe Miocic. And to be honest with you, the other thing I want to shit on, the UFC did nothing to hype. They knew, Stipe said, I'm retiring after this fight. No promo package, no hype, no big interview. And I know Stipe is a man of few words and we can't understand him, but it'd be nice to go, oh, here you go, guys. The heavyweight GOAT, one of the best heavyweights of all time, alongside, Fedor Emelianenko, Cain Velasquez, Francis Ngannou, Jon Jones. This is one of the best heavyweights ever. And no big video, no big send-off, no, huge, what's it called? Like, I remember, and he was one of my favourite fighters, Luke Rockhold, when he retired. Like, Luke was in tears and whatnot, but Joe Rogan gave an amazing speech for Luke Rockhold, and the fact they couldn't do that for Stipe Miocic was very shit and classless. But hopefully he made a shit ton of money from this fight and can live his life being a fireman and just supporting his family. So credit to Stipe Miocic. But let us know what you thought of the fights. Who do you think is the best heavyweight in the world right now? Is it Jon Jones? Is it Tom Aspinall? Is it Francis Ngannou? Who should fight who? I know it's probably difficult for Francis Ngannou to come back into the UFC, but do you think Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and then Alex Pereira fights the winner of that? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more MMA and fight content coming soon. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.